Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today, as you can see in the title, we're talking about problem properties. I've got the keys today for an investor for a problem property, but I'm going to tell you that they're not all a nightmare and they can be the solution to having a successful property investment. For one, you get a cheaper property, that means you can add bags of value, and two, the experience that you learn on these projects is ultimately going to push you forward into not being afraid of going for more interesting and creative kind of property investments. And some of the best properties can be the ones that have the biggest issues, and like I said previously, that's because we can add the most value. So today I've got the keys for this property in Stoke-on-Trent. It's huge and it lends itself to being a 5-bedroom HMO, but most people would look at this property and shy away because there are so many issues with it. Damp, the roof needs doing, the floor's in terrible condition, the garden is an absolute state. But me myself found it on auction, it was below market value, and now it means we can turn this huge property into a luxurious HMO. But first we are going to have to knuckle down and sort out these issues. So I want to show you what the issues are, what you should be looking out for when looking at these problem properties, and I want to tell you that these problem properties can be the best thing since sliced bread. So without further ado, let me show you the next property that I will be developing, and it's this one here. As you can see, it's got the nice pink render. I don't think I'd be going for that, but it's old as God's dog, hence, as you can see there, all of the render is started to fray. It's kind of destroyed now from being weathered over the years and really damp. So first things first, what we're going to have to do here is take off the render, and we will have to re-render up. A lot of damp is coming through the brickwork in this property, and one of the reasons for that is the guttering is in really bad condition. It's all overgrown. So much water will be coming behind the guttering that it's actually destroyed the render on the front of the property. So when you're looking at property, not only do you need to check the roof internally, but check the external condition, and guttering can be a big telltale sign that the brickwork is going to be damp, especially in that top bedroom. So let's have a look inside. Now, as you can see here, you can see that there is a damp course already in the property, but there is signs of really severe damp inside, and damp course only has a lifespan of around 25 years, they're guaranteed for. So this, more than likely, with it being such an old property, is going to need redoing, as well as other damp proofing strategies, which I'll talk about later. So obviously you can't smell the property, but I can, and it stinks in here. This property is in very bad condition due to the damp and the age of the property itself, and there's been no work in here, and I imagine the heating hasn't been on for years and years, so the smell is really strong right now. That's a really good telltale sign that we've got a severe damp issue. This first room, and the first thing I noticed when I came in this room was this suspended floor is raised. It's got a big bump in it. Now when you see that, you can tell that something below is not right. Normally the joists that the floorboards are sat on are damp, have issues, so that's going to need attending to. Again, something that people would walk in here and be really afraid of. Myself, I know that having a look underneath, taking up this suspended floor, it's not a huge job, but you do need to attend to those damp issues and the root cause of why it's happening first and foremost. So what we'll be doing, we'll be getting this floor up, we'll be having a look below and see what's causing the issue, and we'll be putting in new joists with a waterproof membrane on either side, just to make sure it's kind of future-proofed and the floor will be nice and level once we put in these new joists, and that'll be the first problem solved. This room actually is going to be the new kitchen, so we're going to take out these chimney breasts by putting steels in the top bedroom. So the first week will be the rip out, and the second week will be structural work, and these chimney breasts will be no more, and you'll have a nice run of worktop along here, and this will be a nice little kitchen. But we have also got a communal space just in the upper room, which everyone has access to, so it'll be really nice. Okay, so this is going to be bedroom one. Now, as you can see, the floor is on these quarry tiles, which means underneath, and we've not had a look, but it's safe to say that the property is not on stable ground. So there's a couple of things you can do here. You can dig down, or you can make sure that you put a really strong layer of material which is suitable for being a good flooring, which is damp proof, and sort of lay that down to prevent any issues in the future. And what we're going to go for, and the remedy we're looking at, is asphalt flooring. Now, this is kind of a waterproof membrane, but also a really really solid flooring, and the longevity of asphalt is incredible. So it's going to mean that we've got a level surface. It's kind of a cheat code in these scenarios, but we will have perfectly level floors in this area. It can be a little bit expensive, but it's better than the alternative, and it'll mean that the floors in here will last a lifetime at least. So really good. Another one to look out for, gas meters. So if you've got a gas meter in somewhere where there's going to be a bedroom, you've got to think about how you're going to move the gas meter out of the bedroom, because the regulations mean that you can't have the gas meter in that room if someone is going to live in there. So you've got to think about how you're going to move that outside and the cost that may incur. Now look at this. This is just horrible. And I can't tell you how bad it smells in here, but it's just because everything is so damp. This kitchen's not been used in probably 20-30 years. It's in terrible condition. As you can see, look at the state of this sink, horrible. But again, telltale signs of very bad damp in here. It's actually, whoever's been in here previously has tried to sort out the damp issue themselves. You can see this black bitumen paint here, but the damp proofing is so old that it has been attacked and is eroding away. So all we're going to have to do is we're going to put in every safety precaution that we can and get the certification. So we're going to chip off the brickwork up to 1.5. We're going to put in a new damp course in all of the walls, including the internals, and then we're going to put a damp proof membrane. We use Permaguard, which is like a bubbled membrane, which means the damp won't be able to come through the barrier. After that, we can dab over the top of the plasterboard and we'll have nice flat walls to skim over the top. Another one that we will be exploring is the use of metal frame. If you really want to go overkill, you can use metal frame as well. So you can put the full damp course on, put your Permaguard on, and then create an insulating barrier. The metal frame we use is called top at, which means that you bring the plasterboard off the wall and it's around 27mm off the wall. Or you can use lath, you can use timber, and that comes 22mm off the wall. It just means you've got a layer between you and that damp surface, but you do need to sort out the damp issue first, i.e. putting in the full damp course. That was the second bedroom that we just walked in there. This is now going to be additional communal space. So this area is going to be cordoned off because where you're stood right now will be the ensuite for that bedroom, but this area right here is going to be communal space. So again, chimney breasts behind me are going to be taken down, and this area will be opened up. We'll have washer, dryer in here, and it'll be a nice open space for everyone to use. But it leads me on to one thing that's going to be a pain in the arse, and that's the garden. So again, you've got to check the garden when you come into these properties, because they might look okay on first sight, but when you delve into it, it can be a bit of a pain. As you can see, this old structure here is not the prettiest, so we're gonna have to get rid of this. We've got 5 tenants, in fact 6 tenants, because it's a 5-bedroom, but one of the rooms is a double occupant, so it's gonna be a 6-person HMO. So we want a nice large garden if we can, and this horrible structure just here to my left is gonna get in the way of that, so we're gonna have to take it down. These old kind of outbuildings, a lot of them can have asbestos issues. Now looking at the roof, it's a plastic roof, so we shouldn't have that issue, but that's another concern that you need to look out for, asbestos. So this one should be okay. We will have a look and I will get specialists out, but always make sure that you do an asbestos check, especially on the roof in an old building like this, because you will need a specialist to come and take away the waste for that. But yeah, having a look at the external of the property from here, the pointing doesn't look too bad considering the age of the property. It doesn't look too weathered, so on that point we should be okay, and the tiles actually don't look horrendous just above the door, so that looks like it's fairly modern. But as you can see with the rest of the garden, there's a lot of cleaning up to do, a lot of work to do, but for costs we'll clear this whole place out and we'll probably just lay some pebble, nice cheap, but it'll look clean and effective as well. Now this might not sound like a massive one, but again, when you're looking in these old properties, people like to hide things behind wallpaper. And depending on what wallpaper they use, some are easier to get rid of than others. Now I can already tell this here is going to be an absolute nightmare to get rid of. It's like this chippy chipboard stuff that you've literally got to scrape and it can take forever. So when you're doing your costings, just bear in mind that your labour time may be doubled on wallpaper like this. I know it's not a biggie, but it's something that you have got to consider because it's going to take you longer. So make sure you put that into your costings. Now upstairs, one big one, windows. These are actually double glazed, but because we're putting in new tenants into this property, we've got to have fire escape windows. We will change all of the windows in the property, and also just for getting a good EPC valuation on all the external walls, we will be putting metal frame on the external walls and put insulating board on there, just to make sure that the thermal properties within the house are kept and the house is really warm. It'll save on your bills, but also if there is some regulation that comes into effect in the future regarding EPC valuation, it's got to be a certain grade, then making sure that you insulate the external walls and have new windows, i.e. double glazing, then you should be safe in that eventuality that we do change EPC valuations. Now, when I first came and looked in this property, I saw the ceiling in this room, and you can see that it's actually starting to become damp. And after doing a little bit more digging, which you have to do when you come on these viewings, you've got to look at every single thing, and you've got to think, why is that happening? So looking up on this roof, you can see damp coming through the ceiling. And again, it's been covered up by wallpaper. Why has it been covered up by wallpaper? So after inspecting the roof, I realised that the roof is in absolutely horrendous condition. And via this loft hatch just up here, you can see just how bad the condition of the roof is. In fact, it has a little sign on there that says that the roof is not fit for human use. So that just goes to show you how bad it actually is. So that is going to have to come out of your costings. You will need to repair the roof or put a new roof in there. Make sure that it's felted. A lot of these old properties aren't felted. So that will be a big cost in the renovation, but one that you are going to have to fork out on. So we're putting a new roof on this one, and that is the reason that the ceilings in here may be damp. There's no felt up there, there's gaps, and water will be getting through, and you know, it's probably not had a roof on here for as long as it's been built. So a very, very damp property, and that will be a big issue. Now, when you go up into the loft, you may find more problems because there's not been a suitable roof on there, i.e. the joists upstairs may be really damp as well and have dry rot. So that may be an additional costing that you're going to have to factor in as well. But really, some of these things you aren't going to fully find until you start ripping everything away. So these ceilings will be getting ripped down and we'll be putting new ceilings up. So yeah, we may uncover a can of worms when we get to that point. So I've shown you my problem property. I start work on this and commence today, so we only got the keys on Friday. It's now Monday, so I'm going to get stuck in. These problems do have a solution. It's just getting the expert advice from professionals to find out how to do it, and that will come down to you guys. So make sure that you do seek advice when dealing with any of these issues. You're better to be safe than sorry, and you need to do things right from day one, because if not, problems only get worse in the future. And once you've done a nice renovation, if they do start to creep back up, you might have to rip that nice hard work that you've put in back up and restart again. So make sure you do your due diligence. These are only a few problems that I've shown you on this property itself, but I do just want to tell you that it's not the end of the world. These are the kind of properties that you do want to be looking for, because this was a really cheap, under market value property, and now we're going to be able to generate circa £40,000 per year once this is fully renovated, from 5 luxury ensuite and full kitchenette rooms. So it's not the end of the world. There is a solution, and it means that you can add tons of value. If any of you have any questions about this renovation or your own renovations, then feel free to give me a message. Thank you very much for watching, and if you did like this video, then please give me a follow, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers guys.